So what we were trying to find out in this area was whether the ditch that came out of the enclosure there continued for the full length of the site or only for a limited degree. And the reality is we found just in the foreground here that there's a terminal of that ditch, and you can see the way in which it comes to an end. And it's quite narrow here and it seems to broaden beyond, so maybe this very end has been recut and amended at some point, which is often the case with ditch terminals. But in particular beyond that, we were wanting to know whether the area to the north here was organised, and we're beginning to see signs of linear boundaries running up from this region, but there's no evidence for them further to the east. So one sort of present hypothesis would be that where the ditch terminal runs to, they formally organise the area to the north, whereas where it's ended, it's kind of open ground. And what's quite striking is that within that organised area we have building foundations and other ditches and things like that, whereas beyond we have at least a hint of what might turn out to be some sort of oven type features. So you can begin to see that the kind of open ground has artisan activities spread around, whereas the inside area, the organised area delineated by these ditches, maybe has structures developing and that sort of thing. So quite an interesting contrast.
So I've been looking at this sort of section where we found the terminal of the ditch. So we spent the past week sort of working out the separation through the different coloured soils, and then today and yesterday we've been digging out that bit and this bit to see if we can actually find out the cut off the ditch. I think we've got some greyware, so we're trying to look it out, but it's got some burn marks on it as well, I think. We found some other bigger pieces in this area earlier again today, so it's possible it's even the same vessel again.
It was all just covered in backfill from kind of a decade ago, which we've pretty much spent the entire week taking out, and we're now down onto what is the natural kind of sand layer. So you've got the profile of the ditch there, and obviously a shorter one here. So yeah, basically just cleaning that up to take a picture of it.
So we've moved out of trench 2 into the neighbouring trench, the trench formerly known as Constance's, and she was trying to trace a ditch which we initially thought was turning, and then we decided no, perhaps it was going straight on. But we've now identified at last what's happening to it, with only a week to go, and it turns out there's a T-junction. So half of it is surrounding our roundhouses, and the other half is going off into an area we haven't really thought about yet, really. So it looks as though we might have a series of enclosures side by side. Meanwhile, in the next door but one trench, the trench formerly known as Ian's, trench 3, Evie has been working on some stuff which came up in the geophysical survey.
Okay, so in this trench something interesting came up through geophysical survey that we've been looking at and has become clearer with cleaning. We have a section, potentially a medieval furrow here, and then an interesting feature sort of going diagonally along this way, which we think might be earlier and potentially an Iron Age roundhouse, but we're not too sure.